and then Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I first want to extend my condolences to the families that are here today. My district suffered a similar tragedy with Flight 587 back in 2001, which unfortunately went down in the Rockaways in New York City, and I know the kind of hurt that many of you are going through, so my heart goes out to you. My condolences and sympathies to you all. Mr. Muhlenberg, the National Transportation Safety Board recommended that the Federal Aviation Administration develop standards for improved aircraft system diagnostic tools that help the pilots better identify and respond to the kind of failures they met. Will you provide this committee with your absolute assurance that any future Boeing airplane will include such a system?
Congressman, I'm not exactly sure what system you're referring to. I'm familiar with the NTSB recommendation, and it is one that we're taking a look at. But there are many.
And are you committed to following those recommendations provided by the NTSB to upgrade and improve your Boeing so that in the future you will not have these kinds of tragedies?
Congressman, we are currently evaluating those recommendations. We think that topic area is certainly one we want to look at. We'll get into the details.
So you cannot give us any assurance whatsoever that any of those recommendations that are given by NTSB, you, as of today, you are completely sure that you will include them in any future Boeing production?
Congressman, our intent here is to evaluate all of those recommendations. We haven't completed those evaluations yet, but any opportunity we have there to improve safety is certainly going to get
What's the timeline for the evaluation? When do you think you'll be completed with those evaluations?
Congressman, those recommendations are made to the FAA. So we'll have to work with the FAA on how they want to move forward with adopting those recommendations.
There's, from this entire horrible experience, there's not one modification, there's not one single meritorious change that you will make in the production of a Boeing as of today, right now.
Well, I think as a result of these accidents, we are making changes to the software of this airplane. We're making changes to training, to the procedures.
What kind of changes have you made for the airplanes?
For the airplanes?
Yes.
So we're making 3 changes to the software that address the MCAS issue. We're making additional changes that further address pilots flying towards stall and addressing some of those issues as well.
Are any of those changes included in these recommendations by the National Transportation Safety Board?
I think when you look at the first recommendation that talks about the MAX, I think it does address that first one.
Okay, thank you. My next question, really quickly, is Mr. Muhlenberg. The Joint Authorities Technical Review reports that the report states that the MCAS used to stabilize trim to change the column force field, not trim the aircraft, and that this is a case of using the control surface in a new way that the regulations never accounted for. While I understand that you personally maintain that the MAX was designed and certified to the company standards, would you agree that this is an example of where the regulations have not kept pace with changes in the industry?
Congressman, I don't know if I characterize it as not keeping pace. It is true that the MCAS implementation is new and different, and we're evaluating what lessons learned we have from that. So again, all of the JADER recommendations are currently being evaluated, and we're going to take a hard look at all of them.
Now, just let me conclude by saying that I know that all of this has to be assessed. I remember back when we had Flight 587, the length of time that it took, but they are particular changes that could be adopted immediately that are no-brainers, and that these families, I think, deserve to hear from you with regards to what kind of improvements you will make as passengers may consider getting on a Boeing in the future. I think it's incumbent upon you to give responses to these families and this Congress.
Yeah, so we're making a number of software changes, as I mentioned, that will prevent the pilots from ever getting into this situation ever again. But also, I would tell you that as the FAA is diligently going through all the documentation, they are taking lessons learned from these accidents and applying criteria to us that goes above and beyond what the current guidance and regulatory standards are. And so I would say we are working to a higher level of standard already with that.
Thank you to both of you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield.